everyone, in today's video I'm going to be doing an art challenge. Now the challenge is going to be, I'm going to create a painting of the same reference in 1 minute, 10 minutes and 1 hour, and I'm going to see what the difference is and how big difference time makes when you're creating. Although you don't need to time yourself with creating, create at your own pace, but this is a challenge I set for myself just to see what can happen. And I've seen many artists and other artists and creators create these challenges and try them out. So I want to try one myself and see what it's like and what I can produce with it. And I'm going to be using watercolors for this challenge, and I'm using my sketchbook. I got my phone here. I'm going to have the timer running here, and then I'm going to do the 1 minute, the 10 minute, and I'm going to flip it over and then do the 1 hour painting. So I'm going to be using this as a reference. This is a plastic succulent that's on my desk as just an ornament to decorate my desk. So I'm using this as my reference. So this is what we're going to be, or what I'm going to be painting. So now let's begin the challenge. Okay, so now let's begin the challenge. Let's hit start. Okay. So we're going to just get some green. Don't even have the paint on here yet. Okay, going to just paint in some quick. Some darker green. Get some darker green. Only 24 seconds left. What can I do in 24 seconds? And get some of the pink color in. And I'm going to just get some. And time up. Okay. Okay. So that's what I created. That looks so terrible. Okay, clearly that doesn't really work, but okay. So this is what I created in 1 minute. There's not really much time to work on, so it's just like a blob of color actually, so it didn't do anything. But let's go now onto the 10-minute one and see how that goes. So I'm now switching over to voiceover, and I have sped up the video going forward from this point because an hour and 10 minutes is going to be quite a long video, so I have sped it up. You will see the timer on the side on my phone just going down, and if you do see my hand touch the screen, I'm just touching the screen so that it stays lit, and also that the phone doesn't lock. So that's what I'm doing with my hand when you see me touch the screen of the phone. But other than that, I'm basically just adding in a layer for the base colors of the plant in the back and the plant of the succulent in the front. And I am just using a hairdryer to speed up drying time because I don't have a lot of time to wait for the layers to dry in between. So I'm using a hairdryer. So yeah, now I'm just basically creating those petals and adding a bit more color to the petals. I've got less than 7 minutes left, so I'm not going to have a lot of time to get a lot of detail in there, but I am trying to get as much as I can, looking at the plant and capturing as much as I can from that. So basically that's what I'm trying to do. I'm not looking at the details too much. I'm just looking at the basic shapes and the basic colors and just trying to get that onto paper. You can see I didn't start off with a sketch. I just started going in straight with the paint because I only have got 10 minutes and it's not a lot of time to spend a lot of it doing a sketch. So I am using a hairdryer to speed up time, like I said, and that's just so that I can get the layers in. So I'm now just under 4 minutes, and you can see now I'm starting to add a bit more of the shapes of the petals of the center of the succulent, and I'm just creating them with the green, and then I'm using a little bit of a darker value of the greens in the background to add a bit more shadows to the background, and then now I'm adding a bit more of that magenta color to the succulent in the front, and I am just basically getting color over the entire succulent, and then also just adding a bit more color or another layer of the paint over the pot that the plant is in. So you can see I'm just working very fast. I've got just over 1 minute left, and I'm adding a bit more details or shadow areas to the plants at the back. Like I said, I don't have too much of time to look at details, so at the moment it is just a whole lot of color just added. It's not really looking like too much in detail. It looks kind of like a blurry version of the object, but it's not looking very detailed. So yeah, you can see I've just slowed it down so you can see the how slow I actually am working with it. But okay, there the 10 minutes are up, and that is our 10 minute, and that one was our first minute. So I'm just writing down a note that that was the first minute, and this was 1 minute, and that was the 10-minute challenge. And now we're going to move on to the 1 hour challenge. Now I'm sure with the 1 hour challenge I'm going to have more time, so I can spend a bit more time on details and get a bit more of a refined completed painting. Okay, so there we're going into the 1 hour challenge, and I'm using a water soluble graphite pencil, and I'm just capturing what I see. I'm doing a sketch of the entire plant and just basically the leaves and the shapes. I have got a bit of practice on it by doing the other two challenges, especially the second one, so I am familiar with the subject matter that I'm drawing, so that does help, or that I've noticed that has helped. But I'm obviously able to get far more in on this one and even get it more accurate than I did in the previous one. So now I've got the base colors down on the painting, and like I did in the previous one, I'm using a hairdryer just to speed up drying time. And I'm sure with this one being the 1 hour, I'm going to be able to get a lot more details in and get it more refined and really make it look three-dimensional, not hyper-realistic, but three-dimensional and realistic enough to see that it is that plant that I've drawn. So I'm able to get that, I'm sure, with this one. This is a voiceover. I've already done this, so I know what the final result looks like. But for the meantime, I will just say that definitely an hour is better than 10 minutes because I can get a lot of time into getting those three-dimensional shapes and the values right, and getting the darks and lights in. So the shadow areas are really going to be dark, and get those light areas in as well, which will help the image to look more three-dimensional. So you can see now I'm working over the pot now that the plant is in, and I'm just adding another layer of paint. And then I am going to move back to the succulent and add a bit more of that magenta to the tips of the leaves or the petals. And I'm just getting a bit more of that shapes in, and also adding a bit more of that green because I want to really make it look vibrant and make it look very saturated. So I'm adding a bit more color on that, and then I'm adding a bit more of a darker green for the shadow areas of the leaves in the background. Now I am going to be adding more layers. This is just the initial step. As you can see the counter, I've got a little over 40 minutes to work on this piece, so I do have enough time to complete this piece. Now, like I said at the beginning, you don't need to have a time set on your paintings or drawing sessions. This is just something that I wanted to try out and see what I can achieve if my time is limited, and with each time how much I can improve. So obviously there was a big improvement from the first, second and the third one, especially the first one was really bad, but for 1 minute it was really little time to do anything. So obviously the 1 hour is going to give me much more time to work on this piece. So you can see I'm building up the layers, and I am reaching soon the halfway mark, but I've still got a lot of time and I can get a lot done because this is not a simple subject that I've chosen because succulents are a little tough to draw and get them with that layers of the petals and to create that three-dimensional look. So it wasn't the easiest to draw, but it also wasn't, or paint, it wasn't the worst either, because it was quite a manageable piece, especially for the time. I was able to complete it in the 1 hour, which was something that I was very happy about, because it was a bit of a complicated piece, but with time you'd be able to achieve a lot of details and get a lot in there. So with the 1 hour it was quite sufficient for me to get as much realism as I can. Now we've passed the halfway mark and we're on a little less than 29 minutes now, and you can see I am now just adding a bit more details to the succulent in the front, and then going in with another layer of green, with a darker green for the shadows of the background plant. So basically I'm just trying to build up layers upon layers and then create that three-dimensional look, get those shadows really dark, get the highlights in, which you can see I did include the highlights on the pot. Now you will notice that okay, some of that white did bleed into the black, but that's not really a problem. I am going to layer over that afterwards once it's dry. So that's something to remember when you're doing any painting, is just to let the layers dry in between, because it can smudge into, or not smudge, but blend into other colors, and it can cause a bit of a mess if you don't need a specific color in a particular area. But the good thing with watercolors is you can just use a damp brush and just lift up some of that excess pigment or excess water. So now I've got about 20 minutes left, and I've just decided to add a background to this piece because it was looking very incomplete, just being a plant in the middle, or pot plant in the middle of a blank page with nothing looking like it's grounded or anything like it's placed on the surface or anything like that. So I just added a bit of a brown background around the entire plant, and then now I'm just going to add a bit of a surface. I'm not trying to replicate my actual table that it's on, but I am creating a surface of a wooden surface, or not really wooden in detail, but it is a brown surface, so it can be taken to be a table or something like that. And you will notice that the shadows in the front, but you may be confused that the shadows in the front, but there's highlights on the side of the pot or in the front of the pot as well, and the shadow is cast in front of the pot. Now the reason for that is I've got two windows on either, so one is on the right hand side of me and the one is in front of my desk. So the one in front of my desk is bright to the light, so the shadows cast forward in front of the pot, and then the reflection of the window from the right side is reflecting onto the pot. So that's why it has an unusual placement of the shadow, and the highlight is on, or the reflection is on the front as well. So that's the reason for that, in case anybody was wondering. Now I just added a bit more splashes or little splatters at the background, just to add a bit more texture to the background and give it a bit more of a sort of a dimension or feel to it. And then I'm just adding a bit more color to just create that little bit of texture to the background as well. And then I'm going in now, in the last 7 minutes, I'm going in and just adding a bit more color to the succulent, and adding a bit more shadow areas, or darkening the pot, and just adding more layers of green on the succulent as well. Basically just getting all those little details that I haven't done yet, or just adding as much as I can from what I'm seeing. So another thing that you may not see from the camera view is the plant behind the front succulent, the green leaves at the back. That one has got a little white spots all over the leaves. Now you can't see it from here, but that's how the pot looks, or how the plant looks at the back. So I'm going to be, in the last minute or so, I'm going to be adding those little spots. So I'm just making sure that it's completely dry, and then I start adding the little spots, because if it's not dry, the spots are going to just blur in or blend in with the background of the green of the leaves. Okay, and there we have it. Our 1 hour is complete, and I'm done with the 1 hour challenge. So this is how it looks. It actually looks better than I expected. It's still quite wet. I see these little puddles of water and paint on it, but it looks quite nice, better than what I expected to have. So I am going to just dry those little puddles. I don't want them to leak down the page if I lift the book up, and I'm just going to lift up some of that paint, excess paint, just to dry it faster, and then I'm just going to dry it, and then I can show you what the final result looks like. But basically I am happy with this final result. It's better than what I expected, especially for having a time limit on how much time I could spend on the piece. But ultimately it looks like the pot plant that I did. It's not the best, but it's also it represents it. It looks like the plant. You can see the similarities, so I think that's okay. So it was quite a fun challenge, and it was quite fun trying out having different times and seeing how much you can actually improve based on your time. So that's just a tip to remember, that spending more time on your piece can make it look better. Just be patient and work slowly, and take your time building layers, and you can have a piece that you can be really proud of. If you want to have a try and do this challenge, I would highly recommend it. It's a fun thing to try if you have time to spare just to take that little bit time, 1 minute, 10 minutes, and then an hour just to create one particular piece and see how you can improve on it based on your time. And also, by the time you reach the third challenge, you already have a familiarity with the subject, and you'll be able to recognize certain aspects or elements of it easier or more easily. So you can see now that was the 1 minute, which was just a lot of blobs of color. And then yeah, that one I really didn't have time to do anything really. 1 minute was just too less time to do anything. So yeah, 1 minute was just blobs of color. The 10-minute was a little bit more better. The proportions are not so grand of the succulent in front, but it was okay. And then well, now the final piece for 1 hour was a big difference from the 10-minute one. So I guess that's it for this video. Thank you so much for watching. I hope you've enjoyed it. If you have, don't forget to like and share. Feel free to comment below, and don't forget to subscribe. Till the next one. Bye.